Okay, so good morning. I am live, I guess. I've been testing the boundaries. I think it's important now that I've officially gone live historically. I decided to go live from my kitchen to sort of test the boundaries of what is live streaming. Do people just randomly show up on live streams? How is our attention? How does our attention move from our day-to-day activities to our live streaming? I have so many theoretical questions that I could potentially approach with this live stream. So this is my kitchen. You can even see that there is a fly trap behind me. That's something I would have removed if I had really thought about this because that is disgusting. Right now, I am roasting chicken to eat later today, and I have pulled a stack of books. You can see this is my stack of books that I pulled. This is my fruit bowl. I just feel like I have to prove, that's Instagrammable right there. Um, so this is my kitchen, and one of the books I from time to time I was just realizing yesterday I don't always see my downstairs books. So I pulled this book. This is a book on social movements, and it's talking about the importance of like emotion and social movement. So I pulled this and I was like, well, why did I ever read this book or take a social movement area exam? And I feel like I need to justify that to myself and to the world, like literally to the world, because I'm live streaming. Um, And so maybe I could read a little bit from this book, but then I also saw, well, here's this book on generations, and that's like a big topic in this little corner of the internet. And so part of me is kind of thinking, well, maybe I should think a little bit more about generations because that's how this little corner of the internet is explaining itself to itself. That's maybe I don't know if Peterson's sphere is really going that far, but actually I think maybe it's more Peterson's sphere. Um, so you have these generation theories, the fourth turning, the cycles of history. Um, Random book on approaches to social research. I'm doing such innovative stuff with social research that like this would only be like a foundational read for me to be like, okay, so these new approaches make sense in terms of um, I'm not going to get distracted. Okay, it's a book on cultural sociology that might be important. Sam Harris, Waking Up. This is a book where he talks about how much drugs he does and how. Teo, how are you doing? A guide to spirituality without religion, something that I didn't know about or think about before any of this, but somebody talked about it, and I think I read a chapter on shrooms. Is that right? Is that what this book is about? Um, so Sam Harris is like, you want to have a spiritual experience? Get high. Which actually, yesterday, Ron Copperman on my stream, totally live to the world, not in confidence, told me, well, hey, bar church would be cool because I presume substances sort of loosen you up. So actually, it would be easy to dismiss this thing about substances, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. I hear it again and again and again. I talk to people who leave their religion, and one of the biggest things they tell me is, as I was leaving my religion or long before I left my religion, but the only way that I have spiritual experiences, people tell me this, is to use substances. So maybe we should take that seriously. Nobody in the sociology of religion that I talk to talks about drug use and or substance use really and religion, in part because of how the field originated. Let's see, I got a book on religious parenting here. Oh, actually, this was an interesting journal that I meant to finish reading, and I didn't. Which one was I going to read? I don't know, man. Okay, all right. Nobody really tells me about Rachel Held Evans in this group. She is, unfortunately, she died like a year ago. I don't know. It was like a big deal, and people were really upset about it. I had never read Rachel Held Evans. I read a different book of hers not long ago in the library, and she was like really negotiating the boundaries of like parenthood and like religion and what do these evangelical parents do, because everything kind of is really difficult for evangelical parents, especially I mean I presume it's worse in COVID as people are sort of negotiating. Like I know somebody who like was afraid to send their child to like church because it became so much of a trend for people to like not vaccinate their children, and so they were afraid that like, oh, their child was going to become sick because of the vaccinations or because of the lack of vaccinations in the in the church community. I should probably move away from the sun. We just got light in every frame here. This might not be the best place to. I could just turn that light off. Since I'm live streaming from my kitchen, this new thing that I am trying out. This is a little ridiculous, but I'm doing it because I started it, and I'm a completionist, and I finished. Place to do this. I finish the things that I start. Maybe. So, and also, okay, so Brian McLaren came up yesterday, and as I was reading Gerardo Marty's book on, oh yeah, that's where I was. Thank you, Afriel. I was talking about vaccination. Okay, but then on the flip side of that, you've got people who are so afraid of vaccination, and so it's this really fear-motivated thing. Some of the decisions that we make that don't feel political, that don't feel explicitly religious, but still affect our religious community, maybe they're emotional. So here are some thoughts that Jeff Goodwin, James Jasper, Francis Paletta, big deal social movement scholars whose event at Notre Dame I wasn't able to make this past weekend. But let's see. Yeah, this is just a lit review. This would be boring to anybody who hasn't read the literature, but here we go. Orrin Clapp described the signs of identity trouble that led people to seek fulfillment in collective actions, a feeling of being blemished, self-hatred, oversensitivity, excessive self-concern, including narcissism, alienation, a feeling that nobody appreciates me, a desire to be someone else, a feeling of fraudulent self-presentation, Reisman and other scholars, other directedness, and an identity crisis. In academic traditions like these, protest was either a mistake, a form of acting out, or a sign of maturity. These are ways that people used to think of emotions in social movements. Okay, so then just going to keep reading. I don't know what this says. Among protesters themselves, there were other traditions largely alien to the academy, picturing participants in more positive light. So Marx, Lenin, Trotsky, and their successors portrayed revolutionaries as rashly pursuing their material interests. For Marxists, the interesting questions had more to do with how to succeed than with explaining why people would rebel, which to them was obvious, at least until Gramsci and his generation were forced to explain Western proletariat's lack of revolutionary consciousness. If, in the academic portrait, there was nothing but a swirl of passions in the revolutionary vision, there were hardly passions at all. Okay, so the reason that I think that the emotions angle would be interesting for this little corner of the internet is there a link? Of course there is. Teo, anything for you? Let's see. I have copied the link, and now I shall paste the link. Join me, Teo. This will be fun. Yeah, thinking about emotions as potentially motivating people's actions in their online groups, in their decisions to join them, in their decisions to, as people negotiate sort of their in-person groups and leanings and so forth. Thinking about how, here's Teo. Hi, Teo, what's going on?
Hello.
I
Sorry, I interrupted your thought about why you think emotions is important for this little corner to consider.
Okay, well, I mean, it would be an interesting sort of question of what motivations are like motivating our sort of our actions, especially as we're moving from maybe from the online space to the real meat space sort of world.
Yeah, I agree. It's always interesting to investigate the why question. but I think I don't know if I while I was joining, I missed some of what you said. So you was talking about fear being a big motivator in some of the movements into and out of religious communities, and you spoke about the vaccine and
Yeah, yeah, that's one, like, fear so there's all sorts of fears that people have. I think, like, so vaccines might be one, right? But, like, we can think of others, like fear of being, ostracized for my political beliefs or, um, fear of being, like, outed as not agreeing with this particular doctrine or something like that.
why fear? Why not love?
Ooh, yeah, yeah. No, because okay, so, like, we're seeing people leave right now, and so I guess you know what I mean? Like, we're seeing people leaving all these congregations. So I feel
Yeah,
like
but I'm just asking playing the elephant game with you about of the why question.
yeah, okay, so I think I see what fear looks like. What does love look like in a congregation?
So I was literally before you started, I stopped listening to the Sacred Podcast episode with Rando, and he was describing his many movements into different religious communities. Started off in a rural Protestant church, went into the Catholic church, left the Catholic when he was reporting on the children abuse case as a journalist, and then slid into the Orthodox Church. So he's made a lot of different moves, and in all of the from his telling of it in that conversation I was listening to, it was all motivated by uh, either a love for justice in the case of why he left the Catholic Church, or love for beauty in the case of why he went into the Eastern Orthodox Church. So
Oh,
maybe that's fresh in my mind, which is why I'm thinking. But if you want to investigate the fear question,
mhm.
I
Well,
don't know anyone leaving. Well, actually, to be fair, in that conversation, he also mentioned during COVID having an influx of young people. He said, but I imagine just a bunch of young men uh, into his Eastern Orthodox parish,
mhm.
and they were when they asked them their motivation, it was fear of the collapse of society.
Yeah, that's huge. That's something I hear from Orthodox people sometimes. But I'm interested in how you sort of turn that love for justice, love for is that, and I'm wondering, like, is that a move? Is that a rhetorical move that this person made, or is that like a genuine like? At what point in time are you like? Do you
I think
feel
that's a move that I've made based, and I've used him as an example. But I don't know if that's what he was doing. Um,
okay?
but it's a move that feels intuitively right to me. That people might leave something for a period of time because of fear, but
Hmm.
people go through transformation because of something more powerful than fear. And to me, that's love.
Ooh, okay, okay. I really like this conversation because it's not something that I would have thought about. That like I mean like I don't mean that in a cynical way, but I just mean like okay, okay, what like thinking about it. Okay, so fear and love are they two sides of the same coin here? Because
No.
no, okay. Tell me more. How are you?
Yeah, that was a very quick no, wasn't it? I say I've written a paper on on that exact question.
Okay, got it, man. I don't know.
But
Wait,
no, it doesn't. No, they don't. They're not the two sides of the same coin. Because that would make them. I think the reason the no was so quick is in my brain that would make them equally powerful, and it will be more of like a posture that you're taking.
mhm,
But to me, love is superior to fear
yeah.
in the kayfabe of it all.
Okay, okay. So love is superior to fear, and I'm wondering. Like, how do we know that? How do we make sure that love it's like, I mean, because when you talk about love, like, I think, that could mean anything. That could mean belonging. That could mean, um, like,
Oh,
yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying, like, why is love like, when and how is love more powerful than fear? Because, like, this fear that people have that I've seen is just so powerful, not just the vaccines, but, like, especially this fear of, like, well, people don't actually want me here, or if I show up here, people are going to talk about me, or so I don't know. I'm trying to sort of piece out like that seems to be so powerful of a motivator. It's so powerful of a
yeah, I agree. The fear is very powerful, but I also think maybe that's why I did the move that I did. That sometimes people speak about what they're afraid of, and from that you can infer what it is they love, as in what's sacred to them, at least, if we can say that much.
yeah. No, I think that's a really powerful sort of thing. Um, so I guess like if you're afraid of people like I don't know disowning you about a particular doctrine, what what would the love side be of that?
That's a I like that scenario. It's a very popular scenario around these parts.
Yeah, people do know like it's a real fear because it happens. I guess.
Yeah, but it's because there's usually depending on the specificity of the doctrine that they disagree with will reveal what it is that they love. So if you disagree with um the evil church for not being accepting of gays and LGBTQ people,
Sure.
then that's you love LGBTQ people. Yeah, you love, or at least you love the idea of inclusion and diversity.
Mhm.
So that to me is a it's a more useful move for dialogue anyway.
Okay.
Sort
Okay,
of,
so it's not one or the other. Like you can love LGBTQ people and fear that your reputation is going to be damaged if, I guess, if people know that about you.
yeah, two things can be true.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Apriel's in the chat saying fear is also more immediately powerful. Um, love takes a lot longer to grow and mature in power.
Yes, that is true, which is why uh there goes my alarm.
Yeah, my
Uh
camera just rang too, but
yeah, I think that is true, and I think that's why fear is the one of the most popular currencies on the internet, because you get that immediate powerful emotional reaction from people that would lead them to engage, and engagement is key.
so so engagement to what? Engagement for what?
Just anything, as in on anything online. That's the matrix that the social media companies are looking for. It's engagements, and
Yes.
you're most likely to engage of something if it's playing off powerful immediate emotions like fear.
Yes, yes, that's true, and that's why I think that's why our mental health is so shot. These one of the reasons why is I guess because we're always driven by fear. So I don't know. Maybe it doesn't even contribute anything to say like, oh, we have this emotion, fear that's driving our. Of course, of course, our.
Okay, I guess that's what I'm pushing against, with no evidence to back it up, is sort of that uh, our even when we're moving in fear, that immediate reaction, the fuel for that reaction is still love. So we're always moving in love, but we're not always moving in fear. Even when we're moving in fear, we're moving in love.
Even when we're moving in fear, we're moving in love. You would hope that, but don't we know? We don't know some assholes who never move in love. Can I say that? I'm just saying whatever I think, Tail. I'm sorry.
I'm also just saying whatever I think. I will. I'm not gonna stand behind anything that I've said on this live stream so far.
Me neither. I'm on the same page. Um,
Yeah, we do know some absolutes. I was gonna say the C word, but I know Americans are very
Americans don't like that word.
sorry, yeah, they're very that. But
Yeah.
or maybe I've just watched too many animes where at the end of the day, even the villains have an origin story that shows that uh there's a lack of love, or there's a love that they're reaching for, but just in a misguided way. Um, and I'm projecting that onto everywhere. But I do think I believe that we're always moving in love, even when we don't. The best we can do is sort of this be confused by how we want to manifest that love,
Yeah.
and we can do that better than s- sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess thinking about this makes me sort of think about like Luke's personalism, which is like just such a common topic. And somebody the other day in a different live stream told me um, that that's the way to get ahead in this little corner of the internet is relationally. And so I guess I want to draw a connection between love and relationship, but at the same time, I recognize that not all relationships are defined by love. So I don't know how to square that circle there because, um, yeah, I'm just thinking about like, because like emotions aren't just moving in a particular line. They connected to people and into circumstances, I guess. So yeah, I don't know.
Hold on, which I was trying to understand the circle before I tried to square it. So you're saying someone in this corner mentioned that the way to get ahead is is relationally, um,
Yeah,
but
that's yeah,
not all relationship are based in love.
yeah. That's sort of the other side. There is that you can have these relationships, and like at what point, like how do you know the relationships are based in love? I guess.
That's a good question. That's a great question. And it's a good critique of the people in the corner, myself included, that have made the relationships sacred to the corner, because that does not define the quality of the relationship. That just says relationship. Like in on one level, we're all in relationship because we've all got a YouTube account. That's a relationship of sorts. How much can we gain from that? Not much. Um, I think when people say that, what they mean is friendship. And like Neil exposed, friendship is based off individuals persons personal preferences. And if that's the case, then are you being, yeah, if we're all just going to get in this space and befriend the people that we choose, then that's a good friendship. Is I'm always pro friendship. But the quality of that friendship, how do you, yeah, I guess that's it. So if you want a relationship based of love, you'll seek out people who also want the same, and then you can be relationship based of love. And now but the second problem is people are very different, not just definition, expressions
Yeah.
of love and understanding of how love should be expressed. So that negotiation is always.
Mhm. Well, yeah. I don't know. Part of me is kind of tempted. Like, I mean, not to straw man anyone. This is a straw man, but uh, Like, but when we're talking about it, I sort of my brain takes it all the way to like abuse because like as people are, especially people who might be depressed, they might be very anxious, they might not know exactly, what they're looking for or what they want. And as they approach online spaces, we know that especially younger people or people who are otherwise vulnerable are vulnerable to abuse. And so when we're talking about relationships and friendships, we tend to recreate patterns. We don't think cognitively about the friendships that we make. We just recreate them. And
What
so
do
I
you mean by
think what?
explain that last part? We don't
Oh,
think it's different, but we just recreate the patterns. Which patterns?
yeah. So the patterns that are otherwise in our lives and in our experience, we tend to sort of go toward like without thinking about it. Um, our actions are rooted. I think very often rooted in our previous experience rather than in any kind of cognitive process where we're making acute decisions about who we want to befriend, at least in the real world. I don't know how much we know about the online world, but sort of in our face-to-face interactions, we tend to create. That's how cycles of abuse get created, because we go toward what we think is what we feel is familiar. um and so I guess I wonder whether we're setting people up. Like, is there a risk of setting people up to sort of recreate those dynamics with people they meet online? I don't know. Does that's just kind of what I'm thinking. That's kind of where my brain goes, like, not as a critique, not as a straw man, but as like a, could that be a possible consequence?
I love that she just got up and left. That's perfect. Mic drop moment.
Like,
Leave the
raw.
stage.
No, I'm roasting chicken. I had to make sure the house wasn't gonna catch
Oh,
fire.
so you are literally cooking.
Well, I mean, it's in the oven. Like, how much? It's just there's just, and I put a sweet potato in there too because the oven's already on. Um, yes, I'm literally cooking Teo. I've seen people do this before. It's
Actually cooking.
that this this kind of bullshit. It's like literally, actually, nobody cares. Two people in the whole world care they found each other online. That might be theoretically important, Teo. The two people who care about that distinction, outside of fancy schmancy English PhDs, they found, and you know what? I know plenty of English PhDs who do not give a shit about whether you say literally or actually. So,
Yeah, PVK's colonized me to the point where I correct myself when I say literally instead of
oh,
actually.
for the love of God, he's acting outside of his what the hell.
Of his jurisdiction.
Yes, I'm gonna misuse the word literally on purpose just to piss off PBK. That's my new mission. I thought it was Kale's thing, but now I know who to piss off.
No, no, stick with Kale. Kale needs some distractions because I worry about Kale based off his Twitter activities. Anyway, we'll get it.
You
What
worried
was
about
what
Kale?
was the straw man?
Oh, the straw man was taking this relatively innocuous conversation about love and just drawing it all the way to abuse. Sort of a big, maybe straw man's not the right word, but
That's a leap, but it's not implausible,
yeah.
but it's quite the leap. And I wonder why that's where you went. That's interesting.
Well, just like because of relationships, like when people, like especially think about relationships among people who like, um, the people I've talked to might not have a lot of good experience with relationships, and we're telling them online. And again, this is an extreme view. I'm not necessarily advocating this, but just thinking about it, like we tell people online, okay, you need to make relationships, you need to make friendships. If those are healthy relationships, that could set people on course for like a really good, positive sort of trajectory. But if they encounter some kind of negative, horrible, traumatic bullshit, I don't know what that could be, but say they encounter some kind of abuse or something online or bullying or whatever, as they would, and say the first person they meet isn't nice to them, like what happens then?
You either leave or you stick around if there's something uh, worthwhile,
Okay.
that's more worthwhile than the abusive encounter you had.
Yeah. There's this theory, exit voice.
That's what I mean. Beauty wins, love wins. If there's something worthy about that you still find worthy about a community, you will withstand the relational abuse up to a point.
Like, what if you withstand that and actually it's not? Oh shit, PBK's here. Should we let him in?
Oh no.
Hi, Paul.
Leave me backstage so I can hate on you.
We should start a passive aggressive stream.
That's right. I'll start a passive aggressive stream.
Do it. I'll write a whole chapter on it.
Now, are you gonna do this regularly? Should I add you to my new list?
Do you have a list?
I just started a list.
Add me to your list, but I'm not making any kind of commitments.
You missed Mark Parker off the list.
Oh yeah, Mark. I knew I would miss people. That's the problem with lists. You always miss people. So I will. How could I miss our own Mark D. Parker? Gosh,
Serial killer. That's why.
serial killer.
What list is this?
I'll drop it in the
TVK's
comments.
finally created a TLC for Dummies article on his blog.
Wow, it's about time.
Which the Trinity of Evil, of course, excoriated right away.
As it should be.
And they'll be all offended that I'm laughing. So.
Yeah.
I'm only offended when I'm supposed to be offended.
I know. And that's the way most of us here are here. Some people are just a light touch. Let me see. Where are the comments? I'll drop it in the list here. There we go.
There were 3 other TLC videos. What have I missed?
This comment failed to post to Clara. Oh gosh.
That's your Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi is great.
This is where you find out Clara's blocked PVK from commenting on her channel.
That's right. That's right.
Doesn't sound like me. I would never do that.
I know you wouldn't. There you go. So I put it in the private chat. I put it in the. I'm probably going to make a little video with it, but I didn't want to make it because, of course, when you make a list, you always forget people like Mark D. Parker.
Well, now you're institutionalizing this thing with a list.
We've got doctrine, prepositions.
So yesterday I talked to a guy who is trying to start an online church.
Okay.
And he's CRC, and his senior pastor is a friend from college and seminary. And so he said, "Oh, you should talk to Paul Vanderklay." So I was talking to him, and basically he's like, people don't like approach me to have conversations online. And it's like, I got the solution for that. So then it was like I was going to have to write this email to him about how to get into this community, and then I thought, well, I'll just write the email for everyone and throw it up on my blog. So there it is.
Well, that's really fantastic.
Yep.
Okay, well, PVK, you just came back from hosting your own retreat, whatever thing. That seemed pretty exciting. What was going on for you there?
It was the second time I did it. The first time I did it, we didn't have the estuary protocol. I did it back in 2018.
What kind of differences do you have from having the estuary protocol and not? That would be very interesting.
That's good questions. The estuary protocol really helped focus and deepen the conversations. Whereas before, we just spent 2 days just talking about sort of whatever arose.
Okay.
Plus, the groups that came, the people that came, now had almost everybody who came was very corner knowledgeable, whereas 6 years ago the channel was just new. And so a lot of conversations have honed. People had online relationships they were ready to sort of deepen by going in real life. So it was, the real compare and contrast for me was sort of Olympia versus that one, because there were no plenary sessions. It was just estuary for 2 days.
And surely you got tired of each other. I mean, who wouldn't?
Oh no. These are, again, it's like going to Olympia. These are thoroughbreds. They do not tire. So obviously, I didn't just have estuary protocol for 2 solid days. You do it for 2 hours, and then you 2.5 hours, and then you take a break. But then people, it's not like people go into a corner and suck their thumbs because they can't take people anymore. They sort of pair up and sit around tables and have meals and keep talking. And then you go back to the estuary protocol and you run through the loops, and some new things get entered and some things get refined and some conversations carry on between. So in that sense, it was similar to the 2 days of protocol at Northwestuary, but you didn't have the input from the plenary session. So in Northwestuary, you sort of had the additional inputs from the plenary sessions, which
Mm-hmm.
was sort of like adding flavor to a blend in Northwestuary. Let's say you're roasting coffee, and then the plenary session speakers were adding new flavors to the blend. But
Mm-hmm.
in this case, all of the flavors sort of came internally, and then also, of course, as the days progressed and as people began to trust each other at deeper and deeper levels, when you get to the last sessions on the final day, that's when people really sort of they're ready to open up and do the kind of disclosure that they want to be known and share things. And it was powerful. It was really powerful. So it was awesome. But my sister and brother-in-law are like, gosh, you know, because my sister's running food in and out because she sort of played host to the whole thing, and she's like, just talk, and it's like, yeah.
What kind of disclosures are people making on these final? Like, why disclose?
Well, you're talking to a minister. A big part of my job is people need to say things that they can't say in public or even to other people, which is why they hire therapists who are sort of safe strangers for pay. It's why they come to pastors who are obviously religious figures and people who also have vows of confidentiality. But sometimes they have things to say that they want a trusted group to hear because they want to be known. We all need to be known. We all need to be loved.
Okay, then you as a pastor, you're bracing for this final sort of last day of camp moment. What's going on for you there? What are you thinking and doing?
Well, I do the same because that's something that's you're usually not going to get much out of a therapist because they're trained not to disclose, because and they're working with all of these real psychological dynamics. um but pastors are different, and so you pastors are part of the community, not expert facilitators outside of it.
Mm.
And so we bring our stories to it as well. And we, yeah. So for me, that's, is it hard? Yes, but it's a good hard. I mean, people take up jogging not because it's easier than watching Netflix. It's a good hard. So and I want to, I know therapists, if you're really crafty, you can get therapists to disclose sometimes, and you can get therapists to break their rules and join you, because that's what the therapists want to do, because that's the heart of community. There's a chaplain at Calvin who, in his sermons, he would always say, pain shared is pain divided. Joy shared is joy multiplied. And that's what community does.
Hmm. Well, you and Teo both have this extraordinary experience as estuary leaders. You both have been implementing this estuary protocol and so forth. So I would be interested to sort of think about how you're thinking about the differences between this kind of community online stuff that everybody's been doing and this in-person sort of estuary protocol stuff.
Well, obviously, there are limits to the degree that you can be transparent on an open channel like this onto the internet. And, sometimes I am criticized for my Rando's conversation getting, in a way, a little pornographic, not because people are doing sex acts or showing skin, but it's sort of emoji porn, where people are going to emote online, and that's going to trigger people, and et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes, and this is part of the weirdness of the internet, that I've noted before that when I turn on the camera, Freddie talks to his mom through the camera when we're doing the Freddie and Paul show. The internet has a quality of transcendent about it that people intuitively know, which is why people will be transparent about themselves, which is why the internet and Twitter is such a rough place, because it's that transcendent quality that people are intuitively acting upon when they say the most awful things on the internet, because it's, in a sense, a weird public confessional. So in that sense, people do bring disclosures in Rando's conversations because of that element, but there's obviously a degree to which it is unsafe and sometimes unwise. Whereas if you can establish a community of trust, it can be far more healing, because now they can disclose the kinds of things that, for very good reasons, they shouldn't disclose on the internet. So part of the importance of in-person gatherings is that people need this, and the internet isn't the right place for most people. And so we always have people who will come to these gatherings that will never show up on these live streams. And for good reasons. The internet, YouTube is a place for people who have little to lose. A lot of people have a lot to lose. And so they will come out of the lurk only in real life. And often they will get transparent only in small groups or one-on-one. Now, again, as a pastor, I'm used to one-on-one, but churches for a long time, especially, Protestant churches, this actually goes back a lot earlier. People for a long time have noted that small groups also have a level that one-on-one doesn't have, because someone might share a deep, vulnerable truth that needs healing to a pastor, but a pastor will have a limited range of experience and knowledge. That range is opened in a good group. So I will mute now and let Tayo talk because I got to feed the dog.
I forgot what the question was. Online and real life
Yeah, well,
estuary.
you've led a lot of estuaries now, just like Paul has, and Paul's giving me the same lines. I haven't been able to dig deep enough to sort of get the real dirt from Paul, but we'll get there. Tell me, tell me what your tell me about your experience, Tayo, in the moving from the in person online to the in person with like estuary and stuff.
I don't know if there's much more I can add to what Paul just said. Small groups is, I think I've seen the same dynamic play out even in Discord voice chats when there are more than 5 people.
Yeah.
There are conversations into when there's only 3 people, and much more when there's only 2 people. And that just gets magnified times 10 when it's pre-recorded and posted on YouTube forever for everyone to see who's got YouTube accounts. So that makes some people, most people are quite a cagey to expose them to be vulnerable online. It's not something someone like Luke Thompson suffers from. I'm sure he's very. It seems to be the same offline and online. One person in the room, 6 people in the room. Luke will be Luke, and there are many other Lukes. But my experience, my actual on in-person estuaries, I mean, sometimes we do, touch on things that come from TLC, but most of the time not really. And the last time we actually touched on the TLC topic was my fault because I was reading They Flew, which was PVK and Chad's fault for that. And I brought it up in an estuary, uh, and good old Nathan Altman wasn't having it. So that was a fun one. And John was actually there. John Van Dunk was present for that one. Now that I'm thinking back to it.
I mean, it's kind of weird though because like you get people online who would never show up to an in person, especially an estuary where you're meeting in like a church and you're doing all this low key kind of religious shit. I mean,
We meet in a pub, so a little bit more disguised, better disguised.
so yours is more fun, obviously.
Not really. I'm looking to move into a church as soon as I can because it's better in a quiet room than in a loud pub.
Yeah, no, I wonder about this because I've been sort of arguing that these internet conversations and stuff are helping people to build sort of these skills, helping people to get more comfortable talking to each other and whatever in this online space because they can't go to an in-person space.
There are a lot of hermits, and the internet is it's both enabling and affording a better life for hermits. One of the things when I first started playing with online spaces through podcasts was I began to discover hermits because the bolder ones would send me emails and then I would pursue them. And this is even hermits in my own town, but I couldn't get into their homes. And often I couldn't meet them face to face. They preferred to stay on the other side of the screen where they're in control. And the same dynamic was seen in the secret church movement when they started making churches that were over 1,000 people and there were more singing on stage. It was more like televangelism. You began drawing bigger crowds, but a lot of the people didn't want you violating, the invisible filter they had in front of them. They're not going to give you their information. They're not going to disclose. They just want to watch. Now, some people will come out of the lurk, but some people won't. And Anselman. So when I've been to the UK twice, and my second trip I went to Scotland, and I knew Anselman was up there. And Anselman has been one of the most faithful, reliable commenters in the corner for a very long time, right from the start. And I said, Anselman, I want to meet you. I'm going to Scotland. I'm going all the way to freaking Scotland, Anselman. I want to meet you. Didn't come out.
I think Clint got the closest to meeting Anselman when he was over in Scotland this past August also. But even then, health wise, Anselman couldn't make it.
So there's a lot of people, and also the internet and YouTube have sort of taken the place of AM radio and daytime television. And so actually in my church right now, I have two guys who were sick in bed for an extended period of time. And via the algorithm, they found Peterson and then me. And because I was local, that pushed me up a hierarchy a little bit with them. And so now both, I mean, it's dog bark and it's chemo. And so if you watch the Freddie and Paul show, you can meet them both. But both of these guys were sick in bed. And YouTube brought them to me. And so then when they were able to get out of bed, neither of them were hermits, out they came. And so it's been great because now, they're part of a community. But I've known a number of people who, because of social anxiety, because of health, because of all sorts of reasons, will stay on the other side of the screen.
Yeah, that's absolutely wild. The concern about online spaces is that they're polarizing spaces, and they make us really go one way politically. They make us really less critical of things that would sort of push back against any particular viewpoint. How do we deal with that? How do we prevent polarization in an online space?
I don't think you want to prevent it. You just want to deal with it better. You want to process it better.
Can't stop it.
Estuary inherently is polarizing.
Do you say estuaries are less polarizing?
No, they are by definition polarizing. Freshwater, saltwater.
Whatever you do, you will be criticized, especially online. But it's the same in real life. People have more to lose to criticize you to your face, hence gossip. And again, this is why I say church experience is great preparation for this stuff, because church experience is much more high stakes because there's a fuller palette, there's a fuller panoply of weapons that people bring to an in real space than they do online. Online is, you're basically in an online space, you're basically left just with the feminine means of attack instead of the in real life masculine means of attack. So, but it's human beings. We're, as Jordan Peterson used to say, we're monkeys filled with snakes. We are.
Yeah, that's absolutely wild. I wonder whether we're adapting our means of attack online, whether we're becoming more savvy, or whether that's taking on more importance as this online mode is increasing in prevalence. Because there used to be a time when you could disconnect from being online and it wouldn't matter anymore what other people said about you online. But now in 2024, people tell me they spend upwards of 20 hours a day online. And so I kind of wonder whether the feminine means of attack have more meaning in this space.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's all about reputation.
But also think about this in religious terms. So, if I remember your bio correctly, I mean, you you do have religious experience in your past to a degree. If you grow up in a serious religious home, like I did, and I suspect Tayo's as well, um, God is omnipresent. And religious things are omnipresent. That's why certain traditions will have shrines in the house. You've got the practice of unceasing prayer. And like I said, with sort of this weird transcendence that the internet offers, what this is doing for people who are on the internet 20 hours a day is very much a new sort of religion. And it's opening up yourself to the transcendent. That's why people are less buffered. And so, yeah, what this means is that all the unhealthy stuff can get way, way, way more unhealthy in some ways. But it's also part of the reason why the internet is messing with us socially, because you don't have the kinds of boundaries that traditional religions evolved to sort of keep communities sane. And you will have people bottoming out on the internet. And I think part of the reason that the TLC is reminding so many 12 steppers of recovery programs is that it could be what is evolving in the TLC is sort of a recovery lifestyle for people with internet poisoning. Think about that.
The idea. Okay, so then the internet is a transcendent space, but it's also a toxic, poisoning space. So I don't know. To me, I'm just trying to work that out. Where you have this element of transcendence, apparently, but also toxicity.
Well, think about what God comes down on Sinai. Before he comes, what does he tell Moses to do? You got to know the Bible story.
This is a quiz.
Read the Bible. He put a fence around it. Don't let anybody come near me. Why? Why? And this is part of the bullshit of the New Age movement, which is, the transcendent realm is a playground full of unicorns and fairies, and all angels are nice. No, that's not reality. So God is terrifying. The transcendence is terror. And people get a set. Part of the reason this time of year in the United States, part of the function of Halloween is to express the terror of transcendence. And so it's all of these, it's very Pageauian. It's all of these balances that we're working. I mean, you think, why would you have a holiday where we're celebrating death and gore and pain and torture? Because part of the transcendence is terror.
Well, let's just dress up like pumpkins and eat a lot of candy. So
it's better to keep your terror on the outside. And if you dress up like pumpkins and eat a lot of candy, eventually you'll have diabetes. And I see a lot of the terror that American affluence has produced.
Okay, full circle. You got me. You got me. Need to detox from your Halloween candy, I guess. Speaking of, I know everyone's waiting for my review of the Trader Joe's Halloween candy. It's good. Go to Trader Joe's, get your candy bars. No need for the name brand.
Is that the review? Good.
That's the
No,
review.
3 stars, 5 stars.
You know what?
You're giving it away for free. You got to get Trader Joe's to endorse your channel. Have you learned nothing from Freddie and Grim Grizz?
That's it. That's it.
It's all about the grift. You have to keep grifting.
I would love to receive some free candy bars from Trader Joe's.
I love that. You were asked to ask for a sponsorship, but you asked for just free candy bars.
Well, I was just warned about the horrors of diabetes, so I don't know. I don't know about that.
Hold out for the Quan. Show me the money. What? Look, we got Luke, we got Grizz, we got all these people in the comment section here, and nobody's jumping in. I don't know what their problem is.
I guess they're afraid of ladies because I feel like ladies are discriminated against in this little corner of the internet. Because why would a woman come to this masculine, male-dominated place?
Grim Grace.
I don't know what happened, but obviously everything that happens here is very sexist, and that's one thing we
Yeah,
have to address.
that's that toxicity.
Okay, I do want to talk about the money thing because the money in this little corner of the internet is kind of weird. It is. Oh, okay. We're gonna monetize this thing. Pay to play with PBK. Shots fired. Why people are profiting from this? What the hell is happening there? Somebody tell me.
Profit
Well,
might be a bit of a stretch.
yeah, most people are not profiting. Most people are paying. So, and again, my analogies come from church. There needs the financial reality needs to be channeled one way or another because it is always there. It's sort of like all the other realities of humanity. So, and I'm most reluctant in this for reasons that people probably validly criticize me for, Rod Hare being probably the one that's most comes to mind in this corner. There's something about sustainability in this, and I know for me, if I would I know for me, I could make money. I could make more money doing this, and I don't want to. So with my sister's retreat, I basically had. I mean, Grizz is always telling me I sell too cheap. I sold my top level membership way too low. I sold I basically asked for donations for the retreat. I didn't put a price on it because I know money is a barrier, and I don't want money being a barrier to people's entry here. And that's a church value. And so I mostly have used church models to channel money for me. But one of the things I learned fairly early on in this rather diverse space is that there's some people that absolutely do not want to give money to a church, and they're much more comfortable channeling their money through a membership or through Patreon or something like that. And it's also the case that giving money, especially for some people, is a very natural and important means of expressing gratitude. And if you don't find a way to accept money, then people don't have that way to accept gratitude. And people need to say thank you for what has been done for them. And so you have to, one way or another, deal with money in community. And I don't think there are any perfect ways of doing it. AA deals with it differently from the church, that deals with it differently from Consumer America. Grim Grizz is easily worth the paltry amounts of money he gives to this corner, because Grim Grizz gives a ton of value to this corner. Actually, I opened up Rando slots this week, and the only person to sign up was Upcycle. So I'm going to talk to Upcycle today, which I'm really looking forward to. But, and Upcycle understands this because it's also important for some people to participate financially for their own reasons. And unless you find healthy ways to deal with money in community, money's going to be a problem. So you have to figure out the money thing.
There is a natural. People in the TLC are very allergic to grifts if it's not done sincerely / authentically. Grift done through prophilicity, uh, it's not really welcomed. Which was why I think back to Rick Walker when he was promoting his book or whatever it was promoting. There was like a reaction, a white blood cell like reaction in the hive mind to him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yet,
Yeah.
if and when I do start a channel, I will be grifting shamelessly. I am in it for the money for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think that I am in a position to grift because I have integrity. That was a joke.
I've already grifted from you by participating in your.
Yes. That's right. That's right. I'm a source of grift. I'm an inverse of grift.
There you go.
I do want to ask, and Teo, you will be well positioned to answer this. PVK might be well positioned to answer this. Is this a Christian space? Because PVK got all pastor a second ago, which really sort of inspired this question, but it's a question I've been asking because we talk about pluralism, we can talk about ecumenicalism, whatever the word is. I saw the conversation between Dawkins and I didn't see the whole conversation. I've seen a whole bunch of conversations about the conversation between JBP and Dawkins. So what's going on there? Is this a Christian space?
Nah. But yes.
What? Give me an answer.
This reminds me of when they used to ask the Christian rappers back in the day, are you a rapper that's a Christian or are you a Christian rapper? And the answer was no, yes. There are Christians present in the corner, so Christians can't help but be Christians, but there are also non-Christians present in the corner, and they can't help but be non-Christian. It's an estuary of fresh water and salty water. Some of those fresh water are Christians, some of the salty water are Christians, some of the fresh water are not Christians, some of the salty water are also not Christians, so it's a mixed bag.
You don't mean is this a Christian space? You mean is this a religious space?
Okay, because here's the thing.
To the extent it's a Christian space, Christian means Christ-like, and so it is to the extent that we love our neighbors and demonstrate that. But I think your question is like, will people who hate church feel uncomfortable here? That's what I get from is this a Christian space question?
Is that right, Clara?
That's not what I'm asking, no, because I do want to know explicitly. I mean, yeah, is it a religious space? That is the question I want to ask. But I specifically meant Christian because I hear so much Christian coming out of this.
You hear so much Christian. Can I have an example of that? What is something that sounds Christian?
Well, PVK just gave a Bible quiz a second ago.
That's true.
That was a Jew quote, wasn't it? It wasn't from the.
I love quiz.
PVK knows I'm targeting him. Just let him answer.
Well, I think they were right to push back on the question. How familiar are you with Tom Holland's thesis? Is there anything safe? Is there anything in our world that Jesus hasn't penetrated and influenced with his smuggling and colonizing? Because Americans think, Oh, love. Love is not a Christian thing. Oh, they've never read Tom Holland.
Who's read Tom Holland? I mean, come on.
I thought he was great in Spider-Man.
So, is this space infused with Christian values? Absolutely. Is that intentional? At least for my part, absolutely. We already talked about the fact that the internet has an aspect of transcendence about it. So, is that Christian? Christianity has been impacting this world deeply for 2,000 years. And so the truth about most American value systems have been deeply impacted by Jesus' value, but it's become so ubiquitous that they can't see Jesus anymore because he's all over the place. So I think Grim Grizz's pushback on you was correct, even though that is also changed by Tom Holland. So, what on earth do we mean by religious? The question is, I think, is this a sectarian space? Now, that word sectarian had a certain valence in the 20th century, and I would say a big piece of this space is that it works hard at not being sectarian in the way that the 20th century meant that word. So there's an answer for you.
I'm gonna mull that one over.
For those of you unfamiliar, the essential thesis that I got from Tom Holland was that the only reason, like it's as the WEF Wonderboy Harari has said, human rights aren't real, and like the whole notion of anybody else being as valuable as you and that every life has worth is the fundamental result of the Christian thing. And I think that's what we get from Tom Holland is
It's real, but it's just not self-evident the way we've been taught that it was.
what?
It's real, it's just not self-evident.
Well, it's like not empirically real from the secular material world, like the way that they think fiction's not real, and
Yes, that is correct.
that human rights are a product of of human imagination and don't exist in quote unquote reality. And I think that Tom Holland's thesis credits all of that resulting from Christ and loving neighbors and whatnot.
Hi, Luke.
Well, what's up? So, can you guys hear me? I'm assuming so. So, I want to add my 2 cents to this because, Clara, when you asked the question, is this a Christian space? Man, that is. So, this is not something I think that I'm usually very well understood when I talk about it, but to me, that question assumes self-identity as something that's real and labeling something as something that's real. And that's a really, what's in a name is a very complicated question. I mean, going all the way back to Shakespeare and maybe the beginning of time. And I also, well, and to Graham, just to disagree with everyone, I don't think human rights are real either. Although I probably mean it in a very different way than Harari. Like what is a Christian? I mean, that's a conversation. I don't know how many randos conversations we've had on that topic. And it's very Tom Holland's good. Rene Girard is probably better. Everything. From a Christian perspective, everything has been Christianized. Like there isn't anything that's not Christianized. Like if you try to, the choice is basically Christ or Antichrist. The choice is either living a Christian ethic and having Christian values or nihilism. I think that's basically the choices you have. Being or non-being are pretty much the choices. I think that's what Girard was getting at. Now,
Obviously.
how that, huh?
I was just giving a shout out to the Muslims.
Yeah, the Muslim question
Don't jihad me, bro.
Is more complicated. I mean, this is where I would love to have more Islamic people in this corner. Because like I read someone like Rumi and I think he's fantastic. But is that Islamic orthodoxy? I mean, I don't know. Probably depends on who you ask. By Christian, I mean, yeah, self-emptying, kenosis by kenosis, self-emptying up to the point. That's where your ultimate value is in your own self-emptying for love. I don't know if that's true in an Islamic context. I don't know.
Nico says there's some Buddhists left, and I salute their samsara.
Sorry, Luke, I interrupted you mid-flow.
Well, so yeah, so like even PBK, you did that. This is one of my biggest beefs with Nathan Jacobs. Truly, is the way he talks about all this stuff, realism and nominalism. It doesn't matter. It's how you live. I don't care how you label. How you label is not ultimate. Am I a realist? Am I a nominalist? You probably don't even know what those words mean. How you
Hear that,
live
boys
is
and
what matters.
girls? There's big beef between Luke and Nathan.
No, it's not. What I think, where I would push Nathan. I mean, I did have a conversation with him that was
No,
never
don't talk
published.
about him when he's not here. That's right. I just wanted to point out, like, you and the word beef.
Beef, yeah.
You're the Brutus, the beefcake barber of the corner.
Yes, 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 he is.
I don't even know what that means. Yeah, I tag him every time I mention him in a video. It's more just what I would ask Nathan is you can be right and be wrong or be wrong and be right. So like you could self-identify as a realist and not love people.
Well, what if you really don't love them?
Well, then
Then you're still a realist, right?
Then that's how you would act. That's Jordan Peterson's greatest contribution to this whole thing. Act as if is what belief is. That's what it means.
Okay,
It's
but
deeper.
I feel like when I ask, is this a Christian space? I'm getting layers and layers of cop out, so deeply entwined in
No, the answer is no, Clara. This is not a Christian space. That's there you go.
Clara, it depends on what you mean. To me, it's a Richard Dawkins question. It's the wrong question.
You know what? I'm going to accept that. I'm going to accept
What's
that.
the right
Either
question?
that or describe what a Christian space is, and then we'll give you a yes or no.
A church. A church is a Christian space. This is not a church.
I don't know.
Is this a church? No, this is not a church.
Is this a place that tries to make people
Christian?
I use the word religious, but I also distinctly mean Christian.
As long as Christians exist in this space, they will be trying to make other people Christian, implicitly or explicitly. It's what we've been called to do. Sorry.
Why is it attached to an apology?
No, the space.
You're right. I'm sorry. I am not sorry. I'm very proud of it.
Okay, I think I can accept that answer. But it feels tense now. I didn't mean to make it tense. I just meant to get it.
Let's sing a hymn.
Yes. Amazing Grace. Anyone heard of it?
It's been very fun.
No, that one was written by a racist. I can't sing it, Tayo.
What? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he was a slave runner, man.
He was not a racist. Newton was not a racist.
Okay, you can be a slave runner, slave trader without being a racist. That's
no. He was a repentant slaver.
Oh, repentant. We forgave him.
Repented from it. That's what the song is about.
Clip it. PVK is a racist apologist. Clip it, Brandon.
How sweet the sound.
That saved a
wretch.
You should read John Newton's autobiography. It's a fascinating book.
I pick up everything from his story. I got from the fictionalized version of it in Alan Moore's Jerusalem. That's a book you should read. I gave my copy to Sam. You should read it. Not the Sam you guys are thinking of.
Clara, I've got a question for you based off your previous question. Is it a problem if this space is a Christian space? Why do you ask the question? I guess is the reason now, is my question.
No, it's not a problem for me. I'm just looking to understand the boundaries of the space, and if the point is to convert people to some sort of religious orientation, then I need to know that. That's all.
Aren't spaces defined by the Venn of what they are? Like, is this a science space? You're doing science in it, and the Christians are doing Christian in
Fair
it.
question. It's a fair question.
Is Notre Dame a Christian school?
Pretty Catholic, if you ask me. Yeah, and I get emails every semester. Do you want to convert to Catholicism?
That's so funny.
Do they really do that?
Well, the group emails, but yeah, absolutely.
A group email? It's like a billboard.
Group emails, like like in the announcements, like here's an opportunity to convert to Catholicism. That's a real thing. And there's posters on campus that delineate the Catholicism, and there's masses, there's an opening mass, there's all sorts of Catholic
And why
stuff.
do you go there?
Because they offered me a funded position to do my job.
Bribed by the Catholics.
Yeah, I was quote unquote bribed by the Catholics. Absolutely.
Are you getting the new Lucci doll?
What?
The new Lucy doll.
They've
Put
not
out
seen
an
that.
anime character as the Catholics, and her name is Luce for Lightbringer or whatever. It's quite disturbing. I just realized though what needs to happen if you really want to get converts to your church.
Oh,
You get little soft foam balls and throw them at atheists and other non-believers. And when they say, "What are you doing?" you say, "I'm trying to catechize you."
that's
Fair attempt. 3-point logo shots. I respect it. I respect the attempt. Oh gosh.
wow. Well, before anybody asks me any more questions about my religion or background or anything, I feel like I should probably wrap this up. This has been a really great live stream. I greatly appreciate everyone's time and attention.
Thank you, Clara.
Thank you, Clara.
Bye.
Bye.